Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome, and we will call to order the meeting of LAFCO. Thank you all for being here tonight. It is right about 6 o'clock. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, if we could. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we will move on to our introduction of commissioners and staff. We will start with Amy.
Amy Bublak, city member.
Ken Lane, public member.
Richard O'Brien, vice chair and city member.
Terry Withrow, county member.
Bill Berry-Hill, alternate, public member.
Javier Camarena, assistant executive officer.
Sarah Lytle-Penny, executive officer.
Rob Terrell, LAFCO counsel.
Jennifer Vieira, commission clerk.
Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. This is the time for public to comment on anything that is not on the agenda, and then we'll have time for things that are on the agenda for public comment also. And I have some speaker cards here, and we'll go through those first, and then if there's anybody else that still wants to speak, they can come up. But let's start off with these, and the first one is Karen Conrado. Karen, good evening. How are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, so I'm here to let you know that I oppose the Riverwalk proposal. For a variety of reasons, that it's prime agricultural land, that it's going to be built, homes will be built on a floodplain, that there's next to the Stanislaus River where you have wildlife and riparian habitat, water resource depletion, water recharge areas destruction, traffic, gridlock and pollution, all of those reasons. So I'm just asking you now ahead of time to look very carefully at all of the disadvantages of allowing this proposal to go through. One thing I forgot to mention also would be the one-to-one mitigation. If that were to be considered, it just would not be appropriate. This is a large amount of acreage of highly productive agricultural land, and I just don't think there's anywhere that we'd be able to replace that. So thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Okay, and next up we have Dan Whetstone. Dan, good evening. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm here also to oppose the Riverwalk project. I live on McHenry Avenue. My property looks over that river bottom where the project is proposed. And again, I was telling the Riverbank City Council last night about the wildlife out there. We had a coyote go across our patio on Monday night, and we've been watching the hawks and the raccoons, and it's just, such pristine area out there, and the crops that get grown. Again, we know that's just rich soil, the water recharge capabilities, not to mention, again, the traffic. I was trying to go from Riverbank to Escalon the other day, and it was backed all the way. The traffic coming the other way is backed up all the way to River Road. So, again, Riverbank hasn't even completed the crossroads, and the traffic's already like that. So, if we finish crossroads and then do this, 3,500 homes or whatever, just I don't see how it can be a viable solution. So, again, please look at that, with a critical eye when it comes across your desk. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Okay, next up we have Jamie Agers. Jamie, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Agers. I live at 7730 McHenry Avenue, Modesto, within the proposed Riverwalk development. It hasn't come before you yet, but I'm thinking that it will, and that's why we're here to talk to you this evening. Just by way of background, the project is 1,500 acres proposed to annex within the city of Riverbank. The State Department of Conservation does the farmland mapping for the state, and they update the mapping project every 2 years. The minimum parcel that they map is 10 acres or greater. And so within the 1,500 acres, over 83% of that is part of the mapping process. And most of that land is in the highest category that they designate, which is called prime. So this is beautiful land that's tilled up right now, ready for the next crop to be planted. And it would be a great injustice to pave it over and put homes in this area. Homes should go on soils of lesser quality, not prime ag land. So if and when this project comes before you, we urge you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie, are you ready to come back to work?
Maybe,
Okay.
but not quite.
All right. Okay, next up, thanks, Jamie. Next up, we have Barney Agers. Barney, good evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Again, my name is Barney Agers, and I'm speaking to oppose the proposed Riverwalk project. I don't want to go into every reason. I can just say it's many. In a nutshell, it's traffic issues, the water that would be extracted, 2 million gallons to feed this per day or every other day, the sewage issues, the loss of groundwater recharge area, the traffic. The proposal calls to push Coffee Road through from Patterson Road and exit it onto McHenry Avenue. That would create one nasty traffic backup and tie-up, in my opinion. Overall, I think that it would be what I call an environmental injustice to take this prime land, and it is prime land, out of production and build homes where it is potentially, some of it's zone floodplain. So those are my reasons for opposing this. When it comes time to vote, I urge you to vote no. In fact, I invite any of you that want to view this area, come on out to 7730 McHenry Avenue and give it a look. Thank you.
Thanks, Barney. Okay, that's all the speaker cards I have. Is there anybody else that would like to speak, maybe that didn't fill out a speaker card for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the approval of minutes. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from January 26th, and we'll look for a motion.
Move to accept.
Second?
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 4, correspondence.
Yes, you have one piece of specific correspondence related to item 7B, the Fairview Village Number 2 reorganization. It's an email from Denny Jackman.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And that's it for correspondence. Okay, we'll move on to declaration of conflicts and disqualifications. Anybody have any? Seeing none, we'll move on to our consent items. And we will look for a motion on the consent unless somebody wants to pull that and discuss it. Seeing
Move
none.
for approval of consent item A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously. We'll move on to our public hearing, item 7A.
So this will be quicker than expected. We had an item from the Monterey Park Tract Community Services District, an application for them to add sewer service to their list of authorized services. We already noticed it for this meeting. However, we received a request from Stanislaus County for a continuance. They wanted some additional details about the design of the facility and the capacity. Recognizing that, and the district is also willing to continue to provide information to the county, we are recommending that the commission continue the proposal to a date-specific hearing for those that have already been noticed. It'll be May 25th, 2022, with the commission's concurrence.
Okay, so do we need a motion to accept the staff's recommendation on item 7?
And you may want to go ahead and open it to public comment, since we did advertise it as a public hearing.
Okay, we will, any questions before we open the public hearing? Seeing none, open the public hearing. Any questions, any comments from the public? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for
Move that we continue.
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll move on to item 7B.
Good evening, Javier Camarena with LAFCO. The item being discussed this evening is LAFCO application number 2022-02, Fairview Village number 2 reorganization to the city of Modesto. The proposed project is a request to annex approximately 178 acres to the city of Modesto. The request is also includes a detachment of the territory from the Burbank, Paradise, and Westport Fire Protection Districts. The site is located south of the Tuolumne River, east of Carpenter Road, north of Whitmore Avenue, and is within the city's sphere of influence. The city of Modesto originally adopted the Fairview Village specific plan in 1995. LAFCO approved approximately half of the specific plan area in 1996 for annexation. So you could see on the slide this image, this black dotted line represents the specific plan area. This area over here on the right, on the eastern side of the project site, or excuse me, the territory, was annexed in 1996, and the current proposal is that the remainder of that specific plan area all the way to Carpenter Road. Recently, the city of Modesto approved a proposal to annex the territory. It also approved an amendment to its general plan, update to the Fairview specific plan, and included an agricultural preservation policy. The city of Modesto also approved a tentative subdivision map consisting of 217 residential lots on 38.5 acres. Ultimately, the remaining annexation area, along with the remainder of the Fairview Village specific plan area, will accommodate approximately 1,295 to 2,590 housing units. Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act requires several factors to be considered by LAFCO when evaluating a reorganization. A discussion of these factors can be found on pages 2 through 7 of the staff report. And part of those factors considered requires an analysis of community services for the district, for the territory. According to the city's plan for services, essential governmental services including law enforcement, fire protection, water, sewer, and roads will be provided by the city of Modesto. The site will remain within the city, Modesto City School District and the East Side Mosquito Abatement District. Okay, so as looking at this map, as mentioned earlier, the project includes detachment of the territory from Burbank Paradise Fire Protection District and Westport Fire Protection District. The area is pretty small. It's these areas along just the road frontage. So we wanted to get a clean line all the way through the right-of-way along Carpenter Road and Whitmore Avenue. So that's why those detachments are included for those fire protection districts. Also, if you noticed on the north side of the project site, there are some parcels here. Those parcels are located within the Riverdale Tract Community Services District. Those parcels are not included in the detachment at this time on this project because the district and the city of Modesto are currently working on consolidation of the water service for that district. So at a later time, we will likely see this area, or not this area, the district apply for dissolution. So that's why this area is not included in this application.
Can you go back for a second?
Sure.
The Eustick Road area, that whole white section, that's unincorporated, correct?
Correct. That's unincorporated right now.
Is Modesto intending to discuss with the county how that can be either absorbed or what is the use of that land? I'm just asking.
That's likely a separate conversation, but it is identified by the county as one of the island areas that the county is looking at for potential ARPA funding as soon as they adopt priority areas. It's also an area that the city has extended services into, so it's really a matter of time with the city and the county in terms of upgrades to that area.
Okay, thank you.
and
You've
potential
answered it.
Potential annexation, but not part of this at this point.
I know that, it's just
Yeah.
that I hate leaving them out there with an indefinite time period, because I like to be finite, not indefinite.
The Commission's agricultural preservation policy states that the Commission may approve a proposal that includes ag land if the Commission determines that insufficient land is available, development is imminent, loss of ag land has been minimized based on a preservation strategy, and that the proposal will result in planned, orderly, and efficient use of land and services. The city's plan for ag preservation is included in your packet, which includes a 1-to-1 mitigation provision consistent with Commission policies. The city has, one more thing that's important to mention is that the city has long envisioned the Fairview specific plan area as part of the city's growth area. This area has been included in the city's original sphere of influence that was established in 1984. The Commission may waive protest proceedings if the following apply. Number one, if landowners and voters have been notified via mail. 2, the notice discloses the potential for extension of fees and that the Commission intends to waive the protest proceedings. And 3, no written opposition has been received. All of these conditions have been met, therefore the Commission may waive the protest proceedings. Staff's recommendation can be found on page 9 of the staff report, which includes approval of the Fairview Village number 2 reorganization to the City of Modesto as outlined in attached resolution number 2022-04. Approval of the resolution would include consideration of the environmental documentation prepared by the City of Modesto, waive protest proceedings, and approve the proposed reorganization. That concludes my presentation, and staff is available for questions.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for staff? Amy?
In relation to Mr. Jackman's query about four-way, four-lane and all that, is that something that is considered, or it's just kind of comes later? How does that fold into the picture?
We may let staff from City of Modesto respond.
Okay.
But it is part of their general plan, and there's a response sort of in that mix of emails as part of the correspondence that refers to it being a longer-term plan,
Right.
but that this project would contribute towards the funding for that as a longer-term project.
Thank
I have a question on the fire protection side of it. With Burbank Paradise being a part of it now and Westport being a sliver of it maybe, how will that continue? I mean, I know each one of those districts obviously are funded through the district and that sort of thing. Is that being backfilled through this in any way? I mean, I went through this with the city of Ceres, if you will, when we did an annexation and took in Westport and that sort of thing, and we kind of had to backfill that area. So what's happening with that part?
The good news with this, and Javi, you might want to go back to just leave the area map on there. The good news is that the only part that's detaching is road right-of-way. So they're not
Okay.
losing out on any assessments that they could be collecting.
Okay.
The existing area, the white area there, or the area surrounded by the red dashes, the actual annexation area,
Okay.
is actually in the Industrial Fire Protection District. So the City of Modesto, is already serving it via a JPA with City of Ceres, and this is on the Modesto side. So that relationship for fire is not going to change, and so City Fire is still going to be responding to it as it is today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I guess I'm going to go back to the road thing too. And I don't know if Steve wants to come up and talk about this, and it sounds like it's kind of both of our problems here. But I know you can't find a worse situation. Probably it's one of the worst ones that I drive by every day. I mean, you go by there at 5 o'clock, come down Carpenter Road, and as you're heading towards Paradise, and then, I mean, it is just a cluster there. I've never seen anything between the light there at Paradise and then the light at Robertson Road and then the light at Hatch and then, I mean, it is just an unbelievable backup, so, I mean, definitely this will not make that any better, right?
Yes, yes, Chair. Thank you. Steve Mitchell, City of Modesto. Carpenter Road is planned to be widened to a 4-lane arterial street in our general plan, and it's also in our overall impact fee program, or what we call our capital facilities fees program. In addition to that, this project, as Sarah mentioned, will actually also contribute through its CFD or Melrose district that it will be forming. It will be, and the applicants will be widening the frontage of their subdivision. We did an analysis of the traffic at the time and determined that this particular subdivision project, and again, it's 217 homes, kind of in the center of this annexation area, didn't really trigger the need for further widening at this time. I mean, we do recognize that Carpenter is a problem that needs to be solved. As you know, some of it's in the city, some of it's in the county, kind of hopscotch all the way from Mays Boulevard all the way down through here. So it's a problem that both the city and the county will probably have to jointly address here. But at this point, we're not requiring that widening with this particular project. But we do recognize it needs to be done, and we are putting in place funding sources that hopefully will allow us jointly to widen this road. We did widen the bridge. Although it's not striped for 4 lanes, it will allow 4 lanes eventually.
What's the plan there? Because you're right, it's no wider than,
Yeah.
I know it's wider, but it's still 2 lanes going across.
Right, so there wasn't really, first of all, the funding technically wasn't supposed to allow for widening to 4 lanes, adding capacity.
Okay.
So, but the bridge is physically wide enough to allow for that eventually. And I think once we have the approaches on either side, because obviously it doesn't make much sense to stripe 4 lanes on a bridge when it's only 2 lanes on either side of the bridge.
Yeah.
But we do anticipate that, that will have to be done here, probably in the not too distant future.
Okay.
If I could just a little bit more with that,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mitchell. So you're anticipating that CFD or Melrose or Assessment District or something, not StanCog, is going to partake in this? Because we know bureaucracy, and StanCog has its own level of vision, and that's not on it, right?
Chances are there will be a variety of funding sources that will be needed to actually complete this project. And another issue with completing the project now is, frankly, the right-of-way doesn't exist in many locations to allow for the widening of Carpenter Road. So, as you're probably aware, that's a fairly involved process to acquire right-of-way. So, I think that may be one of the reasons the road hasn't been widened up to now. And this project will dedicate right-of-way, some right-of-way needed for that ultimately, but the west side of Carpenter Road's in the county, no development proposed. The right-of-way would have to be acquired from that side to allow for this section of Carpenter Road to widen.
So why don't we, Steve, let's make a plan here. Why don't yourself, and I'd love to be involved, and maybe we can, somebody else from the city council, and we'll get Dave Lehman from our Public Works, and let's sit down and try to, this is just, like I said, it's going to make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I know maybe the studies don't, but it's going to make it worse. And let's start trying to figure this out right now. So why don't we all plan on getting together here and start talking about this and figure out what we're going to do, because it's just, like I said, without this, it's an abomination out there. And I think we've got 4 lanes from maybe not, from California.
I think there is a section that's 4 lanes. I think
Yeah,
it's
from California
around
south.
California. I think it's
Yeah,
from
it
California
goes forward,
south.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a section that was developed in the city, and we got the right-of-way to allow for it.
Right.
But again, I agree. It's something that needs to be addressed
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, so we'll work on that. If I'll get Dave and you together.
Yeah, I'll talk to my director, Jalen French, about it, and
Perfect.
we'll
Let's get
see-
together and talk about
get something set up for
Yeah, because
this.
maybe we could even figure it out. I'm just thinking, even Measure E money, right? Measure E or Measure L money? I'm
Measure
sorry,
L money.
Measure E, that's a whole.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
Measure L money.
it's in Measure L or not. I can't recall, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
for
okay.
sure.
I would also recommend StanCog, because you need CMAC.
Yeah.
Because that right there is perfect for you.
Yeah.
For that project.
Yeah, as I said, I anticipate it will probably take a variety of funding sources to get this
Right.
done, for sure.
right, so let's make a point that we do start talking about that, the next week here. Let's just start putting our heads together and see what we can do. Okay. Very good. Any other questions? Okay, if not, then I am going to open the public hearing. Any comment from the public with regard to this? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for further comment or motions.
I recommend that we approve LAFCO application number 2022 dash, oh God, my, no, 02? I don't have my glasses.
You got it. That's right.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, very good. Thank you. We'll move on to other business. I don't think we have any. We'll move on to commissioners' report comments. Any commissioner comments, reports? None there. Additional matters at the discretion of the chairperson? None that I'm aware of. Executive officer's report.
Yep.
Sarah.
I just have a couple things. I wanted to let the commission know that I met with the civil grand jury yesterday to provide them a LAFCO 101 training. That's something I regularly do for them each year when we have a new group of grand jurors. So they get to hear about what LAFCO is and a little bit about special districts as well. Staff wants to remind the commission, if you have not already, to submit your Form 700. They're due, I believe, next Friday. But if you haven't, reach out to Jennifer. And then at our next meeting, we'll be hearing the proposed budget. That's for April 27th. And on May 25th, we'll be bringing back the Monterey Park Tract Community Services District item, as well as the final budget. And that's all I have.
Okay. Very
When
good.
do we evaluate you next?
That'll likely be in our August meeting.
August, okay.
All right, very good. Ken, you okay?
No.
Okay. All right, very good. So our next meeting is April 27th, 2022, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.